Most of us spend most of our life in a thought process in which there's a story being told all the time about you and your life. So, one of the things that is part of the teaching is to start to understand that the voice in your head is a program, and it has the characteristics of a program, meaning that it can't act outside of its own program. It can't. It goes back to that thing I think Einstein said: you can't solve a problem with the same system that created it. Right? So it's worthwhile to get to know the mind. I mean, one of the reasons that meditation is powerful is because you become aware not only of the mind in terms of it being a voice in your head, but you become aware of that it has claimed things that are not it. It's claimed things that are not its possessions, or it claimed things that are not its identity. A program is not alive. A program is not awake. Right? So, but what the program does, when we practice meditation and we are being aware of the body breathing, it's important to understand there's something to be learned there, because under ordinary circumstances, do you relate to the body breathing as the body breathing? But what I'm referring to is it not the case that almost all of humanity relates to breathing as I am breathing?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Not unless I think about it.
Well, everybody thinks that they're the body, so yes.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody thinks they're the body, and if the body's breathing, that's me breathing.
Yeah.
I have to practice consciousness over that.
Well, it's what you're practicing is simply being present to the truth, which is that the body's breathing. There's no evidence that you're breathing. The evidence is an important part of these teachings, because the teachings depend on what's true, and what's true has evidence for it being true. And what's not true doesn't have evidence. Right? So that's one of the reasons that often teachers say, if you take yourself to be a body, okay, where in this body are you? Long story short, you're not going to find an answer to that question. You can't locate yourself in the body. Right? If you take yourself to be breathing, how do you do that? You're doing it. If you take yourself to be breathing, tell me how you do it. If you're going to be honest, you can't tell me how you do it. And the reason you can't tell me how you do it is because you're not doing it. Yeah, so we stop referencing thinking, because thinking has led us to hell. Mm-hmm. So to use thinking to understand thinking won't work, because it's designed not to be seen for what it really is. It's because the thinking is an identity process, right? Mm-hmm. And part of the thing, and it's very important to understand, the purpose of the program called the mind is survival. Right? It can't think. It can use thinking to survive as a body, or can use thinking to survive as a personality, right? But it can't use thinking to be happy. It's not designed for that. It's a program. You don't go to a Coke machine and expect a cup of coffee. It's never going to happen. Okay? In the same way, the identity that people take themselves to be will never not be that. It can't do anything but be that. That's the program. Right? So, when you hear about these teachings and practices, and you hear what the possibility is, and it starts to make sense to you, and you start to recognize happiness is available, but I have to recognize it's not available given the process that I have been engaged with, the pursuit of happiness in the material world. It's not available there. So if you understand that, and you take on board that understanding, right, then you start to be aware of the fact that the truth be told, see, who you take yourself to be is pursuing happiness. So if it hears this message, right, it will pursue it, right? It's just in fact, not only will it pursue it, but it considers it to be maybe the best pursuit of happiness that they've come up with. You know, I thought all my life that happiness could be found by doing what everybody else does to get it, you know, to get money, you know, pursue it in the world, right? Now I hear about these teachings, and when I hear about these teachings, the teachings are telling me that I've made a cardinal mistake. I've made a serious mistake. And I am attempting to get something I already have. So if that starts to make sense to you, and then you understand, okay, if I already have it, if happiness is what I am, I already have it, how do I have that experience? Now watch, you don't have that experience, because who you take yourself to be can't have that experience, because who you take yourself to be can't have any experience, because who you take yourself to be doesn't exist. That's the beginning and end of that. So the pursuit of happiness in these teachings, right, would be a pursuit that's taken by the personality. It's taken by the identity. It's taken by who you take yourself to be that hears this message. Okay? But the first thing that you have to be clear about, right, is the one that is going to attempt to pursue happiness, the one that's going to attempt to experience the natural state, right? The one that's going to attempt to do that can't do that and doesn't exist. But the program will play thinking and play behaviors as if it does. Because the program takes everything and puts it into relationship to who it thinks it is, right? So that's the primary barrier. You know, it's like one of the teachers said that as you pursue as you learn about these teachings, and you start to get clear about the concepts that these teachings present to us, at some point it becomes evident that the barrier to experience happiness is you. And if you're the barrier to experience happiness, right, the very next thing you as that barrier will do is slow this program down, slow this process down. Yeah? Because it's your extinction that's necessary to experience what's available. It's your extinction. Can you see that if you're the listener of the teaching and if you're the doer of the deeds that you take yourself to be that will allow you to eventually experience happiness, can you see if that's who you take yourself to be? And part of the teaching is that you take yourself to be has to be seen for what it is, which means it has to be eliminated. Now, if you're that, and if you're being that, hearing that, how's that going to land for you? If you're being that, hearing that, okay, the only way out of that is to realize you're not that. As long as the thinking and as the program plays, it will have you in the form that you believe yourself to be, attempting to not be that form. You follow that? It'll have you in the form that you take yourself to be, attempting not to be that form. Is that possible?
No.
It's not possible. So the personality that you take yourself to be is very interested in freedom and happiness and peace and satisfaction and everything that's on offer. Is very interested in that. Okay? The you that you take yourself to be is very interested in that. But it will never get it. It can't get it. It's impossible for you to get it. And like one of the teachers that I studied says, that statement, you will never, ever, ever experience the truth. You will never, ever, ever be happy. That's not possible. It's not going to happen, right? That's either something that's very disappointing to hear, right? Or it's the best news you could possibly get. You get it? Yeah. So that's what we're dealing with here. Is we're dealing with the middleman. You know, there's what's happening that's getting interpreted by a program and a system. So you only get the result of that interpretation. You don't get the raw material. You get the result of that interpretation. So everything's being interpreted as if you're a separate self. The brain will interpret to the nervous system how things occur to you as a separate self, because the brain is part of the system. So everything that happens is getting interpreted, and you're on the back side of that interpretation. And if you don't know you're on the back side of that interpretation, you think you're looking at reality, when you're not. You're looking at something that's been filtered through a system that turns it into what it would have to be for it to make sense to you as the individual who is surviving, to you as the body and you as the personality that is surviving. So everything occurs to you once it goes through that filter. Another way to say the same thing is we could talk about awareness making conscious contact. Awareness is seeing, for example, or we could say awareness is hearing, you know, the senses. Awareness is seeing, right? Awareness is hearing. And what the thought process, what the head does, what the program does, is it says that you're in front, what you are is in front of the conscious contact experience. So you're here as the person, and the person is seeing. See that? It's presupposing that you're here as a person in reality, and that person is seeing, right? When in truth, the concept of your being a person happens afterward, not before. It's has to be generated all the time because it doesn't exist on its own, and it's being generated after the seeing. Seeing occurs, and the head says, I am seeing. Hearing occurs, the head says, I am hearing. Right? Actions take place, the head says, you're the doer. You're taking those actions, right? But that's happening after the awareness of what's occurring. But the head has it that it's happening before what's occurring. That you exist and then you see. When in reality you see and then you interpret that you're the seer of what you see. It's like that. So what we're doing through practice and over time is we're getting the situation to be as it really is, to see things as they are, not the interpretation. And the way they are is that it's after the seeing that the idea is that I'm the seer. It's after the hearing, I'm the hearer. It's not that that's going to change, by the way. It's not that that's going to change. It's not that it doesn't have to change. All you have to do is be clear about what's actually happening. That's all. It's going to continue to be that way because we're all playing the game. We're all playing the game of being a person in a body living in time and space. That's this game that we're playing. We're all playing that game. The game's going to continue, right? But if you wake up and see actually how the game works and what's actually happening. So you're no longer being fooled. You're no longer attempting to experience the impossible, which is being happy when you already are. Now this material, these teachings are not easy concepts to grasp, to grok. They're not easy concepts to grasp or grok. In Buddhism, in front of the temple, which is to be the home of the truth, they have two statues at the gate, right? One represents confusion and the other represents paradox, and they're guarding the gate. So if you find this material difficult to grok, or you find this material difficult to understand, right? That's part of it. It is difficult to understand because it's so radically different from your orientation. You have to actually slow down, don't you? You have to actually slow down and really look and see, oh, when you slow down and look at it, you can start to see more clearly what's actually happening there. We talked about a mirage, right? A mirage, see if you can get this. A mirage is not a mirage unless it's not a mirage. You get it? A mirage is not a mirage unless it's not a mirage. A superstition is not a superstition unless it's not a superstition. So these things can be dicey, these things can be confounding, these things can be paradoxical, these things can be difficult to grasp, but it's worth the trouble. It's worth the trouble because as you go through the process, I should be able to understand this. And if I don't understand it, something's wrong with what you're saying, or maybe it's not the truth at all. Like that. That's the way the mind is. Yeah, that's the way the mind, and it's true, the concept of non-duality is maybe the most difficult concept of all, right? But it's the truth. It's the truth. And if it's the truth and you don't understand it, so what? Work at it. Keep looking at it. Keep listening to teachers talk about it from different angles until you see it for yourself. Until you see it for yourself. Because it's the truth. It is the way things are. It is what's happening. These things are not just conceptual games that we're playing. This is not just a head game, right? We're talking about the truth. What we've been doing is a head game. How we have interpreted reality is a head game. This is not a head game. This is the way things actually are. And one of the things that's important and powerful about understanding that is when you start living your life with the way things actually are, it works. That's the proof. It works. And if you don't start living your life consistent with the way things actually are, the failure will continue. It has to continue. Because you're living in a mental state. You're not living in a life. And a mental state is not real. And therefore, it cannot be fulfilling. Cannot be fulfilling. That's why I say, if you see these things, if you see the truth, if you see these teachings, if you understand that these teachings are reality, and then you understand that these teachings are true. And if you understand that, there can't be anything more important in your life than to realize this. There can't be. Because it's the key to everything. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight, but, if you stay with the practice and you continue to invest your attention and invest your interest in these teachings, eventually they will reveal themselves to you. It's inevitable. That has to happen because it's the truth. It's as simple as that. It's the truth. I'll give it to you in the simplest terms possible, right? One of the things you've heard me say is that the identity that you take yourself to be is not real and doesn't exist, okay? Right? And that identity that you take yourself to be that's not real and doesn't exist considers itself to be a separate, long-lasting self, doesn't it? Okay? That's an illusion. It's not true. And if that's an illusion and that's not true, right, it means you don't exist. And if you don't exist, then you're not separate from the universe. You are the universe. That's non-dual. When you're separate from the universe, that's duality, subject-object.
Oh, okay.
Right? That's duality. Right? When you realize there is no real reality person here, right? You take that out of the picture now, and what's left? Everything. Non-dual. No subject-object, all subject. That's non-duality. Now that's a conceptual thing that I just described, right? If you can grasp it as a concept, that's the first step moving in the direction of experiencing it to be true. If you experience it to be true, it's the end of suffering, right? Why? Because there's nobody to suffer. Nobody to suffer. And that is the fulfillment of the potential of experiencing the natural state. One of the famous sayings that Ramana Maharshi, who is considered one of the greatest teachers of our time, said, he said, the greatest mystery that there is, right, is greatest mystery that there is being reality ourselves, we seek reality. And he said that's the greatest mystery there is. How can you possibly get that to make sense? Being reality ourselves, we seek reality. Being happiness ourselves, we seek happiness. Being peace ourselves, we seek peace. That is a great mystery. Right? It is a great mystery. And the reason that's the case is because people's orientation is, and identity is materialistic, right? Materialistic. I am a body. I am a thing. I am a noun. I am a person. That is a thing, right? It's materialistic. The truth is not materialistic. The truth is only possible as a direct experience. And that direct experience is being had all the time, but not like an interpretation. It's being had as a direct experience of things as they are. And as things are is that you're already home. And anything you do, and the program will have you attempt to do something to get home, won't it? And anything that you do to get home takes you away from being home. Because you're already home. Your conditioning and your orientation doesn't have it like that. It has that time is real and you have to pursue happiness. And so that'll keep playing, right? But the question is, will you ever lose interest in that so you can experience what's already true? As long as you're interested in that, as long as you give that your attention, it'll keep you in the dream. It'll keep you chasing happiness in the world. So you have to see that the dream is a dream and not expect to be able to experience reality in a dream. Okay. Have a good night.